Hi, I'm Taylor with Mom on the Spectrum, and today I'm going to be sharing a 10-step process that will help you share your autism diagnosis with the difficult people in your life. This is a topic that comes up a lot within the autistic community, and just know that if you're facing this issue right now, you are not alone, and I am here to help you today. Like I said, I'm Taylor. This is my channel. I started it after I was diagnosed as autistic at the age of 31. I'm 34 now, and I use my time making resources for our community to help us communicate about our experiences. And if that sounds like something that might be helpful to you, I'd love it if you would hit that subscribe button to become part of our community, like the video, and let me hear from you in the comments so that I can get to know you a little bit better. So first things first, both a self-diagnosis and professional diagnosis are valid here in my opinion. I totally understand that you might not have your professional diagnosis, but you're still wanting to communicate with people in your life that you are on the autism spectrum. I totally support that. There's a lot more to say about it. I've made other videos on this topic, but for now, just know that you're welcome here no matter which category you fall into. Number one, the first step of the process I'm going to share with you today when it comes to sharing your autism diagnosis with difficult people in your life, it might seem a little counterintuitive to the spirit of this video, but the first step is you don't have to. Okay, and I just want to make that clear. You don't have to share your diagnosis with anyone. It can be a very personal experience, and we might not be surrounded by people who are going to validate this experience. Sometimes when we share it, it can actually make us feel worse. Not all the time, but I just want to remind us starting out that you don't have to share your diagnosis. And if anybody is putting pressure on you to do so, I would question why that's happening. This needs to be a decision that you make if and when you feel comfortable and ready to do so. The second step of the process is to remember that it is a privilege for other people to have information about your life. I know that that's nuanced because there might be people who are close to us, family or friends, who might not initially be supportive or ever be supportive of us being on the autism spectrum. And so it can get a little complicated, but just know that the people that you spend the most time with that are going to be supporting you and living life with you, those people should treat the information that you give them as privileged information and respect and honor and value that. Now, I know there's many of us within the community that struggle building friendships and having healthy relationships, but just know I truly believe that that is possible for all of us and something that we each truly deserve. And so it can sometimes be scary to take steps in that direction, to trust and believe that there are people out there who treat you well. It is true. And so just know that the information that you share is a privilege, it's to be respected, and you absolutely deserve that going into this. The third step of the process is to explore the reasons why you're wanting to share with this particular person. What are you hoping to get out of it? How will your life be enhanced by this person having that information? Okay, I'm just going to kind of leave the third point there. That's a lot to think about. That would be like a journal question. Just pause the video. How will my life improve if and when I share my diagnosis with this person? How is it going to add value to your life? Think about that. The fourth step of the process is to manage your expectations. I was doing a one-on-one with somebody one time, and they were really wanting to tell their parents about their diagnosis, and we were talking about the history that their parents had of receiving information like this from other family members, and it wasn't positive. So we had to talk about managing those expectations that just because you're their daughter or best friend or sister, whatever it might be, it doesn't mean that they're going to magically have a different approach or a different response to you. So as you take into account the people that you want to share this information with, historically, how have they responded to receiving sensitive information in the past? How have they responded to mental health issues and concerns? All of that is important information to take into account so that you can personally have an idea of what to expect. The fifth part of the process, hear me out, is to put together a loosely held plan. I know many of us within the autistic community really like to plan. We really like to have routine and structure. So plan it out. How would it go if it went perfectly? Think about what you really want the other person to know about your own experience. How has your life changed by understanding your place on the autism spectrum? Write that out. How would you communicate it if you communicated it perfectly? And then hold loosely to that idea, because I don't know about you, but most of the time, even if I plan something out really, really nicely, it hardly ever goes according to plan. That doesn't mean we can't create one. Just again, it kind of goes back on managing expectations. This is what we hope it's going to look like. and then we're going to work in some flexibility. I'm going to help us do that. That brings me to the 6th step of the process. Think through different environments or scenarios where this conversation would be really fitting. So if you could create the perfect environment for this to happen in, would it be somewhere quiet? Probably. Would it be more private? Who all would be there? Would you be wearing comfortable clothes? Probably. I'm giving you some hints. It would probably have reduced sensory input, like probably not fluorescent lights. So think through what type of environment you would feel comfortable and more at peace sharing intimate personal information. And then maybe brainstorm different environments where this could actually happen. So hopefully, maybe you set the perfect environment and the perfect time and the perfect situation and it happens for you. But I think it is important to build in some flexibility here of thinking through, well, there's different environments and scenarios in which this conversation could happen. And I feel like that gives it a better chance of happening organically rather than in a forced way. Not that either one's right or wrong. I just tend to feel more in control and more authentic whenever I can express myself in a more natural way. The 7th step of the process is to be open to sharing imperfectly. Okay, so we've got our plan, we've got the environment that we feel like would probably be best, and then maybe we start sharing and it doesn't come out the way that we thought it would, or they have a different reaction, whatever it might be. It's very helpful to go into this knowing that it's not going to be perfect. You might stumble over your words. You might forget to say something really important that you wanted to communicate. You might lose your cool a little bit if they have a different reaction, and you might respond emotionally in a way that you hadn't anticipated. Give yourself grace. Go into this knowing that there's no perfect way to do this. You can always go back and revisit the conversation later if there is something else you want to add, or if you want to mention like, hey, I wish I would have said it this way, or, it really upset me when you said this, whatever it might be, you can always go back and add more to the conversation. So don't let that take you out of the moment as you're sharing. Don't beat yourself up. Just keep going. Take a breath. Keep going, commit to what you've already started, and just give yourself so much grace. The 8th step of the process is very important and one that I feel like is probably skipped over too quickly, but take note of their response. How does their response make you feel? And this is something you can do internally. This is something that probably, if it was me, I would do on a delayed processing timeline after the conversation has already ended. But make sure you take time and space to go back and reflect. How did their reactions make you feel? Did they make you feel seen? Did they ask clarifying questions? Were they coming at this with a spirit of more curiosity rather than judgment? Make a note about it, maybe journal about it, and really take yourself seriously. Don't try to talk yourself out of, oh, well, maybe they didn't really mean it that way. Don't make any excuses for anyone's behavior or speech. Just kind of free flow. How are you feeling? How did this interaction make you feel? And where do you feel like you're at now? The 9th step of the process is to consider your response options. So as much as it would be great to be able to control how other people feel and react to us, we can't. So get rid of the idea that we have anything to do with how the other person responds. Your power comes from, 1, you can clarify why you shared this information with them in the first place. Maybe it's something like, hey, you mean a lot to me. You're an important person in my life. I want you to better understand my experience, and this is really important that you know this about me, right? So let them in on why you're sharing with them in the first place and the role that they play in your life. Number 2, clarify how their reaction made you feel. So let's say it was a negative reaction, not the one you're wanting. Hey, when you said this to me, everyone's a little autistic, that was really invalidating because that made me feel like you don't understand my experience and that you're trivializing the things that play a major significant role and cause challenges for me every day. And for me, this is something that I'd have to take some time personally and privately to reflect on before I would feel comfortable having this conversation. So this, to me, would be like a secondary conversation after the initial sharing of information. So letting them know, this is how it affected me. If it was positive, give them feedback as well. Hey, it really meant so much to me when you helped me feel seen and validated after I shared with you that I'm autistic. It made me feel like I can trust you and that I want to spend more time with you. Whatever you feel comfortable saying, give them some feedback and let them know that you appreciate that connection. If they are open, if they came across as more curious rather than judgmental, and they are open to learning and understanding more, this would be a good part of the process to share some resources that are helpful to you. You could say, hey, it seems like, you're open to learning a little bit more. Would it be okay if I shared a book with you that's been really helpful to me? Would it be okay if I shared a video or another resource that has really helped me feel seen so that you could better understand my experience? And I feel like that's a really good way to bridge the gap between a lot of people's misconceptions, because now they have a resource that they can personally refer to, and then y'all can connect. I know I say y'all can connect together over that shared information and revisit the conversation later. And then the 10th step of the process, which is so important, is to connect with a validating community. So whether or not this is the person that you just shared the information with, or maybe you're realizing you need to find support and validation elsewhere, it's really important that you connect with people who understand your experience and can help you feel seen and validated. I know hearing that, it might sound like, oh yeah, that'd be so nice, and wouldn't it be nice if it was easy? I understand that some of us have a hard time connecting to those validating and encouraging people and communities. So I'm going to list some in the description here. There are some online autistic communities that are really great. And also a lot of really good conversation happens here in the comments. I also host community events where autistic adults regularly get together, form connections, share information. So check out the description for more information about that. And please don't give up. You are so worthy and deserving of validation and support. As we start setting boundaries for ourselves and start understanding what healthy relationships look like, and not making excuses for people who treat us poorly, it's kind of like clearing out the cobwebs. It's going to take some time to create space for those new relationships, healthier relationships to come in, but trust the process. You're worth it, and there are people out there who will validate you and your experiences. On that note, make sure during this part of the process that you reflect on your own experiences and how relating to the autistic community has improved your quality of life, or your self-image, or your sense of compassion towards yourself. No one else knows what it's like to live a single second through your eyes in your shoes, whichever idiom you want to use. But it's so important that you reflect on how your life is enhanced by being connected to the autistic community, by resonating with autistic experiences. Focus and reflect on that, and that will center you time and time again. So to summarize all of this, I just want to remind you, your experience matters. The way that other people respond to what you share with them is just information. I know it can be really hurtful if they're invalidating, especially if it's somebody that you're really close to, but just take their response as information that can help you make a decision about what role they get to play in your life. And yes, that could be heartbreaking to understand that maybe this person is never going to know you fully because they just can't see, they don't want to see maybe what you're sharing with them. It's information that you can use to determine how much you share with them in the future, how much time you spend with them, how you want to relate with them, what types of conversations you can actually have together. And I promise, even though some of these decisions are going to be hard, it is going to create more space for healthy and sustainable relationships in your future. I can tell you, I've learned from experience. I am currently learning from experience, and it will keep getting better as you focus on your experience, trust your intuition, trust your inner guidance, set boundaries, and be so kind to yourself. Make peace with the process. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey, which I know is cheesy, but there really is so much power in making peace with the journey and just being present for where you're at today. It might be a difficult place that you're in right now, but trust the process. There is so much room for growth and beauty and restoration here. I'm here with you. You're not alone. And if you're curious about what I've had in my lap this whole time, this is my new favorite. This is like a grown-up stuffy. This is my weighted pillow. And I love it so much more than I thought I would. This is a Quiet Mind pillow, and I have a link in the description. They were saying that their weighted pillow is better than having a weighted blanket, which I thought was like so presumptuous and rude to just disqualify my weighted blanket like that. I really can't believe I'm saying this, but I love it just as much as my weighted blanket, or maybe more. I don't know if I can say that yet, but I keep this with me in my lap when I'm working. I keep it I keep it on my stomach when I'm laying on the couch. I sleep with it next to me in bed. It's just this calming, ever-present weight, and the texture is every bit as soft and amazing as it looks in the video. It's like Like if there was a perfect autistic texture, to me, this is it. This is not upsetting in any way. It's very comforting. And I love my weighted pillow. So if you want to check it out, I'll put a link in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know how these conversations are going for you, which part of the process you might be stuck on now. I love interacting with everybody in the comments, so hopefully I can get a chance to hear from you, learn more about your experiences, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.